Hi everyone, a very warm good afternoon. I hope all of you are doing good. My name is Harshmeet Singh and you are watching us live at Narayana IAS Academy. This is the last class of this ongoing series for economics. As you know, since the last couple of weeks, we have been discussing the most important current affairs, the most important topics for economics that have a probability of being asked in this year's prelims examination. We have had 13 classes so far. Today is class number 14. That will be the last class for economics. I really hope that all of you have seen the earlier classes as well. In case you missed out on any of the earlier classes, do make sure that you see them in the playlist that is given on our YouTube channel. Today also we will be discussing some of the most important topics along with practicing them from practicing all the different types of questions that can be asked in the examination. So all that I ask from you is, number one, grab a sheet of paper and a pen to make sure that you are able to answer all the questions here. And secondly, make sure that if you are new here, do hit the subscribe button. I would really highly appreciate that. Also, if you are one of those who is wondering that my aim is not to write the prelims this year, my target is next year 26 or later. For you also, we have a couple of extremely important and beneficial initiatives. We are offering 1 and 2 year comprehensive courses for you that will cover all the aspects of the preparation, starting from the prelims, covering the mains examination, the answer writing part of it, till the stage of the interview. If you need any other information about the courses that we offer, do check out the description of the video. There's a link, click on that link and you can get all the information. If any other questions arise in your mind about any of the courses, feel free to leave a comment. Our team will get back to you with all the answers that you require. With that out of the way, I hope all of you are ready and all of you have grabbed the pen and the paper that you need with you to answer all these questions. Now let's begin with the first topic that we have for you starting today. The first topic that we have that was in the news quite considerably is something called the RAMP program. Now, if you have been following the Government of India's initiatives and announcements, especially regarding our industry, you would have seen the government is extremely careful about giving a push to the MSME sector. MSME sector, that stands for micro, small, medium enterprises. MSME sector is the one that employs most of the working population in India. They contribute in a huge manner to government's GST collections. They also are the backbone of India's economy. And that is why the government has been pushing and creating a lot of positive instruments for them to allow them to have access to loans, to allow them to have easier permissions from the government, and to allow them to import and export in a much easier manner. To give them a push even further, the Government of India started something called the RAMP program, R-A-M-P. Now, there are various types of questions that can be asked here. The most basic question that can be asked here is, RAMP program is related to which of the following sectors? And this is where you have to remember, it is related to the MSME sector specifically. It was in the news because, as I said, the government, specifically the Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, has launched 3 new sub-schemes under this ongoing RAMP program. The RAMP program is not something that is new, just that it has been expanded even further with a lot more schemes that have been included here. Whenever the government introduces a new kind of a scheme, there are certain key factors that you must remember. For example, first, what is the agency that is running the scheme, or what exactly is the ministry or the department that is responsible for running the scheme? Secondly, information such as, is it a central sector scheme or is it a centrally sponsored scheme? What is the target audience? What are they targeting? Is there a goal that they're trying to achieve? All these kind of things are extremely important for you. So do make sure that you make a note of all of these things whenever you are coming across a certain scheme. Now, this program, that is a RAMP program that we are discussing here, started way back in 2022. This is a program that has been assisted by the World Bank. Now, as you know, India runs a lot of programs, a lot of infrastructure related initiatives, a lot of poverty alleviation initiatives in India are being run with assistance from the World Bank. And this is also one of those programs. I hope all of you understand the difference between World Bank and IMF and also the distinguishing factors between the different parts of World Bank. World Bank is actually a group of 5 institutions. These are IBRD, IDA, IFC, MEGA, and ICSID. These are 5 different institutions that are together called the World Bank Group. Usually, in most cases, when someone says World Bank, they mostly refer to these two. So, in the general definition, World Bank refers to IBRD, that is the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, and International Development Assistance, IDA. The difference between two being that IDA is helping the poorest countries. So, the poorest countries in the world, the least developed countries, LDCs, they get their loans from IDA. IBRD usually helps the developing countries or middle income countries. After your per capita income goes beyond a certain level as a country, you cannot take loan from the IDA, you will have to take the loan from the IBRD. As I told you earlier, you have to remember which kind of a scheme is it, that is a funding pattern. This is a central sector scheme. Now, what exactly is the difference between the two? Central sector scheme means 100% government of India funded. On the other hand, if it would have been something called centrally sponsored scheme, centrally sponsored, the usual pattern, and it changes from state to state, but the usual pattern is 60% money will come in from the center and 40% will be pulled in by the states. That is how we usually distinguish between central sector scheme and centrally sponsored scheme. It depends upon what exactly is the pattern of expenditure, who is funding how much money. This is what the RACE program is. Now, RACE program, by the way, just in case you did not get the full form, RACE program basically means Rising and Accelerating MSME Performance. So, this is the full form of RACE program that the government has been running for. The idea is to improve the market access as in being able to sell their stuff in an easier manner, do not have a lot of complications in place, allow them to have credit, allow the banks to make it easier for them to give loans. The government, for example, should introduce schemes such as interest subvention, where a part of the interest is paid by the government, strengthening institutions, improving center-state linkage, also greening of MSME. Now, what exactly is this? Even if you have to make a guess, you would make a correct guess. When you see the word greening, the first assumption that you should have in your mind is that their working should be more sustainable, more in line with the environment. So, their working should be more sustainable, it should be much more in line with what the environment demands rather than just focusing on profit maximization. All these are key objectives of the program. The idea again is to make sure that the MSMEs, which employ most of the people, again I am underlining this fact that if you look at the market size, if you look at the employment in India, over 23 crore people are employed just in the MSME sector. So, it is important for the government to make sure the MSMEs do get the kind of push that they require. These are certain important informations about the RAMP program as we have been discussing. This is where RAMP program wants to scale up the implementation capacity. They want to have support after COVID, especially when many of the MSMEs were facing shutdown, were facing closure. The government of India made sure that they have improved access to credit. All of that is a part of the RAMP program. Now, one other important thing that you must remember before we go ahead, when you say MSME, what we mean to say is there are 3 different categories of enterprises. There is micro, there is small, and there is medium. Now, you must remember these limits. This is important for the examination. When is it that an organization is considered as a micro enterprise? When is it that they become small? And when is it that they become medium? So, the 2 criteria that are considered here is the investment limit, the maximum investment that they have, and the turnover limit. So, recently the government of India has changed these definitions, and because it has been done recently, it is important for the examination. So, the new limits are, if you have an investment up to 2.5 crore, then you are a micro enterprise. If you have an investment up to 25 crore, then you are a small enterprise. Or if you have an investment up to 125 crore, then you are a medium enterprise. So, depending upon the size of investment that you have, you will be considered as different enterprises. On the other hand, there is also a limit change in terms of the turnover. So, if the turnover is up to 10 crore, you are a micro enterprise. If the turnover reaches the maximum limit of 100 crore, you are a small enterprise. turnover up to 500 crore, you are a medium enterprise. This is an important categorization because depending upon this, the government makes different types of policies. So the policies of the government regarding what interest would the government pay on their behalf, how easy would they have to export stuff, what are the regulations, what is the GST, all of these can take into consideration the size of the different companies, and this is where this different categorization is important, and do remember that. The three sub-schemes that have been launched under the program, because of which it is in the news, the three sub-schemes are: number one, the Green Investment and Financing for Transformation Scheme, that is called MSME Gift Scheme. Second, Scheme for Promotion and Investment in Circular Economy. And third, the Scheme on Online Dispute Resolution for Delayed Payments. These are the three new sub-schemes that have been launched. As the name suggests, all of these have their own specific idea, the agenda, the mandate that they want to fulfill. For example, if you look at the second one, promotion and investment in circular economy. Now, what do you mean by circular economy? Circular economy is a kind of a mechanism where one sector, whatever it produces, the output is used in the second sector. Their output is used in the third sector, and that output is used in the first sector. So it's more of a circular economy where every particular sector helps, contributes in the working of the other sector, so that they are actually working each other develop at a much faster pace. Similarly, one big problem that many MSMEs have is that their payment gets stuck. So in most of these businesses, there is no cash transaction or there is no prompt payment. For example, let's take a very simple example. Let's say there is this big housing or big clothing company, let's say Zara. Now Zara has placed an order with a small company that I want you to produce 1 lakh shirts for us. Okay, deliver the shirts to us. Now they will tell what quality of material should be used, the tag will be of Zara, it will be produced by a small company. Now when they transfer these 1 lakh shirts or when they give these 1 lakh shirts to Zara, they will not be paid on that day of the delivery. The Zara company will tell them, okay, you have given us the shirts, wait, let us see how they are being sold in the market, give us 60 to 90 days, we will give the payment to you within 2 to 3 months. So the capital of the MSMEs, the capital, the money that they had used, the money that they had invested in making this product, it all gets stuck for 2 to 3 months, and that becomes a problem because then they don't have enough money for the next cycle. That is why there are a lot of delayed payment issues also that creep in the MSME sector. That is why, to resolve all of this, the government has also started this sub-scheme called Scheme on Online Dispute Resolution for Delayed Payments. This will basically take help of legal support along with IT tools to address a delayed payment, because this is a big problem for the MSME. See, most of these companies, these are small size companies, so they don't have a lot of capital to keep on putting in for every cycle of production. One cycle of production, when it gets completed, they wait for the money to come in so that they can invest that in the second cycle, so on and so forth. This is where this particular sub-scheme specifically is of great importance for the MSME sector. Now, these are the other challenges that the MSME sector is facing, and it's not something new. They have been facing these challenges for a long time. First, many of these are informal. Because they are informal means they don't have registration from the side of the government because they thought it's too much paperwork, it's too complicated. Because they don't have that registration, they do not get a lot of support from the side of the government schemes as well. Please understand, when the government announces a certain government scheme, the government says that we will be helping you with such and such thing. The idea essentially is that these kind of schemes will only be applicable to those companies that actually are registered with the government, that have a registration record with the government. When you don't have that, the result is that you are basically, these companies are let out of what the government beneficiary circle is. So because of lack of registration, they don't get those benefits. There are regulatory issues involved. Some of them have very complicated licensing operations, etc. Third part, there is lack of technology because they don't have enough money. See, technology and all these new features come at a cost. If you don't have enough money to invest, you won't have a lot of technology to compete against the bigger players. Then the issue of limited access to finance, infrastructure bottleneck, all these are issues. Most of it can be solved with good access to money and credit, if they have easy access to loan, easy access to credit, they would be able to solve most of these issues. However, unfortunately, that has not been the case so far, and this is where the problems have started. And thus, the government hopes that with schemes such as the MSM, such as the RAMP initiative, they would be able to solve most of these issues. If you understood the entire topic, let's see if you can answer this question. Read this very carefully. Read this and think about what the answer should be in your mind. Okay, let's discuss. With reference to RAMP scheme launched by the Government of India, consider the following statements. Number one, it is a World Bank assisted program aimed at strengthening the institutional capacity of MSMEs. Yes, this is what we discussed. It is supported by the World Bank. The Government of India is collaborating with the World Bank. They will be providing the capital to ensure that this program becomes a success. Second, one of its key components is improving access to market and credit for formal and informal micro enterprises. Yes, exactly what we had discussed. Third, the scheme is centrally sponsored, implemented by the state governments. Now, try and remember what we discussed. It is a centrally sponsored scheme or is it a central sector scheme? Well, it was a central sector scheme. Centrally sponsored is wrong because centrally sponsored would mean center government contributes the bulk of it, but the states also have to contribute around 40% in most cases. Central sector scheme, on the other hand, which this scheme is, would mean 100% contribution from the central government only. So, it is a central sector scheme, not a centrally sponsored scheme. Third is wrong. So, the answer becomes 1 and 2, that is A. A is correct here. The other statement, that is the third one, is wrong. I hope you got this one right. If you wish to take a screenshot, you can for revising later on. Let's move on to another practice question. Read this carefully. This is not specifically about MSME. This is about slightly related topic to this. I thought I'll ask this so that if you have revised, let's say IIP, Index of Industrial Production, you may be able to answer this as well. It's again an important topic from economics point of view, that is IIP, Index for Industrial Production. Let's see if we can answer this. Read this carefully. Done? All right. Consider the following statements regarding IIP, Index of Industrial Production. First, IIP covers production, mining, manufacturing and electricity sectors but excludes construction activities. Is that correct? Think about it. It is correct. Manufacturing is considered but not construction. The weight of manufacturing sector in IIP is higher than the combined weight of mining and electricity sector. If you remember, IIP gives different types of weightage to different sectors. There are certain core industries as well. If you look at the different weightages, manufacturing, yes, is much higher than others. Third, IIP is used as a leading indicator for GDP estimation. The absence of direct production data from certain sectors. That is also correct. In case government does not get specific information about certain sectors, what they do is they look into the data from IIP. Fourth, as per RBI's financial stability report, IIP's consumer durable segment grew by 8% in financial year 23-24, reflecting its urban demand. No, there is no specific number like this that has been given from the side of the RBI. This number is false, that has not been quoted. May be true, but it is not quoted in this report. So, it may have happened, but the report does not quote this. Since you had to choose which of these is not correct, you were asked about the incorrect one. The only one incorrect is fourth. The answer becomes B. The answer becomes B. Okay. If you want, you can take a screenshot from here. Got it? Now I have a related previous year question for you as well here. Let's see if you can answer this one. Read this carefully. So the question asked in 2011, which of the following can aid in furthering the government's objective of inclusive growth? So government wants inclusive growth, means growth of all the different sectors of the society. Promoting self-help group, yes, it helps women, especially in the rural areas. Promoting MSME, absolutely yes, because it employs most of the people. Implementing Right to Education Act, again, yes, it will improve inclusive education or inclusive growth. All these three are correct. Pretty simple, straightforward question this is. Answer should be D. Not a difficult question at all. No technicalities involved here. You should be able to answer this. The answer is D here. I hope you got all of these right. The second topic that we have for you today then, another one of those topics which the government has been extremely upbeat about, something that the government has been focusing on in the past few years, that is PLI schemes. PLI here stands for Production Linked Incentive Scheme. Now the idea is simple. The government wants the companies to manufacture products in India. Two purposes will be served. Number one, we would not have to import so much products. Number two, we would have a situation where we might be able to export a lot of products. Just take this example. Do you know last year, out of all the iPhones produced in the world, 20% were produced in India. Every one out of every 5 iPhones produced globally were actually made in India. That has been possible because of schemes such as these. The idea is simple. The government has told the company that if you improve your production up to a certain level, you go beyond a certain level, we will give you some incentive in return for that. It will be as proportional to the production that you have increased. So you bring in your capital, you bring in your money, you produce a lot more. What is it that the government has to gain from it? Number one, if they produce more, they would have to employ more people. So it will have jobs for the people. Secondly, you produce more, you sell more, you pay more taxes to the government. So this is the calculation the government has. That indirectly the government hopes that it will help the government only, but the government actually wants this to be through a method wherein you would not, or you would have to first produce much more in India in order to get these incentives. Now, when the scheme started, it was especially in 3 sectors only. We are at a situation now that the scheme has reached 14 sectors in total, 14, but it started with 3. Now it is in the news because the second round of this scheme has started. So when the government makes these kind of agreements, these are agreements for a specific tenure. That okay, we have this agreement for these many years, for these many months, and then we will reevaluate what to do. So now second phase has started, which is again a good thing for the government because it shows that a lot more interest is being shown by the companies here. They are attracted by this and they want to have more production in India. This is the scheme about. It first started at the time of first wave of COVID, March 2020 is when this started. It was a time when many of the companies were thinking of alternative to China. They were trying to come out of China, have their production somewhere else. India saw this as an opportunity. It enabled the companies to expand the existing manufacturing units and to set up new units as well. This is where companies such as iPhone came in, Apple came in, and then we have Tesla that is in talks to come in. All these are coming in to take advantage of this scheme so that they can earn money by increasing their production in the country. This is the budget that the government has now allocated for this scheme. It's not a small budget at all. If you can see, 1.97 lakh crore, which is over $24 billion that has been allocated for this scheme. As I told you, it started with only 3 sectors, but it has now been extended to 14 sectors in total. I'll show you what those 14 sectors are. If the time comes, if the government thinks there's a need, they will extend it to even more sectors going ahead. The idea is to drive investment in the tech industry, especially because the government is focusing so much on Made in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat. All these initiatives are being given a push with the help of this PLI scheme. So these are the 14 sectors. If you see, these are the ones that are right now covered under the scheme. So there is large scale electronics manufacturing. Then there is drugs intermediary, active pharmaceutical ingredient, that is API. So API is the component of the ingredient of the medicine that you eat. For example, when you eat Dolo 650, Dolo 500, what it actually contains is paracetamol. So essentially it is paracetamol, that is the API, that is active pharmaceutical ingredient. The brand name is Dolo. China right now has a monopoly in the world of API. They supply APIs to other countries. Manufacturing of medical devices. So the medical devices, let's say pacemaker and then stents that you put in case of a heart blockade. Then automobile, auto components, pharmaceutical drugs, specialty steel. Steel also is a big component of it. The Chinese government or the Chinese industry has been dumping its cheap steel around the entire world. Countries such as US, India are all fed up of the cheap Chinese steel. So high quality specialty steel, telecom and networking products, then drone components, advanced chemistry, cell battery. This is also a big part because government is so much focused on solar and wind renewable energy. The problem is how and where to store this energy. If you are producing solar energy in the day, how to store it so that it can be used in the night. This is where these batteries will come in. High efficiency solar photovoltaic modules, textile manufacturing, food, white goods like refrigerators, air conditioners, etc., IT hardware. These are the 14 sectors. You have to remember these. There may be a chance where the UPSC will ask you which of these following sectors are a part of the PLI scheme. So you must know which of these are included in the PLI scheme and which of these are not included in the PLI scheme. So this is also important. Do remember these 14 as well. Just if I share the most latest version of this news. So if you can see, this is the snippet from March 22. So just about or exactly about a month back, this is from the PIB, wherein the government says that because of the PLI scheme, about 1.61 lakh crore investment has come in, 14 lakh crore in production, 5.31 lakh crore in export. It has generated 11.5 lakh jobs. So it's a big win for the government. Although it's an ongoing process, we would want to expand it even further. But if you look at the data it is released by the government, it does show a significant improvement or a significant success of the scheme. A lot of new jobs, investment, etc. have come in because of these schemes. These are certain other achievements. Now, the one that I showed you is very up to date, that is just last month. If you go slightly back, if you look at, for example, let's say till August 2024, PLI scheme has attracted 1.46 lakh crore in total investment. There is a much bigger boost in production and sales, especially in mobile phone manufacturing. As I told you, Apple's iPhone is just one example. So, if you actually look at Apple's iPhone, the interesting part is Apple does not produce iPhones itself. So Apple does not want to take that headache of producing those mobile phones. What do? They have built the technology, they have built the design, they know how to build it. Now they come in contact with the manufacturing company, give them all the information, give them the intellectual property rights and tell them that you have to manufacture it. So the company that is actually manufacturing iPhones in the world is Foxconn. It's a Chinese company. They are the one who are actually producing iPhones for Apple, that is Foxconn. So Foxconn, in fact, there was a recent news that they are now looking for land in Noida in India. Again, a big parcel of land so that they can build another big factory there for Apple manufacturing. So the boost in production and sales is for everyone to see. It has led to creation of more jobs as well. As I told you, government estimates that 9.5 lakh, this is the data till August. But very recently, the last month data, the government says 11.5 lakh jobs have been created under this PLI scheme. It has also increased our exports as well. Now, government is focusing a lot on exports, especially electronics, etc. Drones, which have been a lot in the demand around the world. We are also focusing a lot on exports of, let's say, defense. We discussed this earlier, one of the earlier classes. The government, for example, aims to achieve 50,000 crore in defense export by 2029. We are almost halfway through it. We are over halfway through it. The government has is about to reach the 30,000 crore mark in export. That also is something that we are focusing on when we want to give a push to drone manufacturing in the country. All these are initiatives under the PLI scheme which the government hopes will be giving us good results. If you understood this, try and answer this particular question. See if you can answer this. See if you can answer this. Got it? Make up your mind, think about what the answer should be. All right, perfect. Let's see if you got this right. With reference to production linked incentive scheme in India, consider the following. First, the PLI scheme launched in 2020 spans 14 sectors including electronics, pharmaceutical, textile with a total outlay of 1.97 lakh crore over 5 years. Exactly what we discussed. If you remember, this is exactly what we discussed. It started with 3 sectors. Now it covers a total of 14 sectors, and we discussed a list of the 14 sectors as well. Most important of these sectors are these ones that I mentioned here: textile, pharmaceutical, drone manufacturing, specialty steel, all these are included here. The scheme provides incentives ranging from 4% to 6% on an incremental sale for mobile phone manufacturing with a cap of 5,000 crore per company. So it's not that all the sales will be counted. The government will look into what is your past track record. On an average, how much do you produce in a year? So based on that, how much you increase, and based on that incremental sale, 4 to 6% will be given to mobile phone manufacturing. So it's different for different sectors. It is not the same slab of 4 to 6% for every sector, the different slabs. So for mobile phone manufacturing company, 4 to 6% decided. That part is fine. But it says up to 5,000 crore per company. No, that is wrong. So it is actually up to 4,000 crore. There is an upper limit as well because the government does not want to go bankrupt just by giving incentive to these companies. So there is an upper limit, that is 4,000 crore per company per year, that is for the mobile phone manufacturing companies. Third, the PLI scheme for specialty scheme mandates a minimum investment of 300 crore to qualify for incentive. That is also correct. As I said, there are different suggestions, or there are different mandates for different sectors. So for mobile phone manufacturing, it's a different mandate. For specialty steel, it's a different mandate. For automobile, it's different. So it's not the same. It is different. For drones, it is different. You can't remember for all of them, but the important ones where the government has been very upbeat about, try and remember those. As per Economic Survey 24-25, PLI scheme has attracted FDI worth $20 billion by March 2024. No, that has not been the case. The specific number about FDI through PLI scheme has not been mentioned in the economic survey. So there are certain investments that are coming in, but economic survey does not say it is worth $20 billion already. So fourth is again wrong. Since you had to choose the correct ones, 1 and 3 are correct. A would be the answer here. A would be the correct answer. 1 and 3 are correct. 2 and 4 here are incorrect statements. If you want to take a screenshot to revise later, you can do that. You can revise later. All right, I have one more practice question for you. See if you can answer this. Try and read this carefully. Again about the PLI scheme. Done? All right. Consider the following statements regarding PLI scheme and its impact. Number 1. The PLI scheme for drones targets manufacturing units with a minimum annual turnover of 10 crore to qualify for incentive of up to 20%. That is absolutely correct. Drone manufacturing is one of the key initiatives that the government is hoping will become successful under this scheme. Drones are again dual purpose equipment. They are used for civilian purposes as well. Increasingly, for example, they are being used, let's say, to spray pesticides in the agricultural field, to carry on and to undertake surveys about damage that is done to industrial fields or in agricultural fields for insurance purposes. They also have military usage. You know, these have been used extensively in the ongoing Ukraine-Russia war. So drone in itself is a technology that has a lot of demand, and that is why the government is extremely upbeat about having drone manufacturing in the country. First part is correct. Second, the scheme has led to creation of 2.5 lakh direct jobs by December 2024 as reported by Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Now, see, you have to understand, one part is how many jobs have been created. Second part is how many direct or indirect jobs have been created. Direct job means, for example, if a mobile phone company comes in and takes part in the PLI scheme, how many people does this mobile phone company employ? That will be direct job. Indirect job means that now that this mobile phone company is manufacturing more mobile phones, they would need, for example, more packaging material. So the packaging company will also have to employ more people. Now, because mobile phone manufacturing is happening at a larger scale, so more of these mobile phones will be sold. So you would require more people for delivery as well. So delivery industry also should hire more people. Those are indirect jobs. So direct job is the one which is job given by the company that is manufacturing the product, the core product that we are talking about. But because the manufacturing has increased, a lot of other industries have to keep up pace with it. So they have to also employ other people. That is indirect job creation. So the PIB news story that we saw, that the government said 11.5 lakh new jobs have been created, they were referring to direct plus indirect jobs. In terms of direct jobs, that is directly how many people have been employed by these companies who are taking advantage of the PLI scheme, that number is much lower. That number is not even 2.5 lakh, it is 1.5 lakh. So direct job again means directly employed by that company that is involved in manufacturing that core product. About 1.5 lakh more jobs have been created. So second is wrong. Third, PLI scheme for pharmaceuticals includes a provision for additional incentive of 2% for units adopting green manufacturing practices since 2023. That is also correct. For those companies that are making pharmaceuticals, that is medicines, if they do that using sustainable practices, green manufacturing, they will get even more incentives from the government. Fourth, as per RBI's financial stability report, PLI supported sectors contributed 15% increase in India's manufacturing export in financial year 23-24. This is actually correct. One of the rare statements that is correct in this regard. The RBI's report does say that because of PLI specifically, there has been an increase in India's export. How much? About 15% of India's manufacturing exports have increased specifically because of the PLI scheme. So it is a success by any stretch of imagination. Thus, since you had to choose which of these is not correct, the only one not correct is the second statement. So the answer here becomes C. C is the only one, or second is the only option that is not correct. 2 only is C. That is the correct answer here. I hope you got this one right. 2 is incorrect. All others are correct. Got it? Okay. Let me also ask you a related previous year question. It's a question related to these kind of topics. It was asked in 2012. Read it carefully. See if you can answer this. Read it carefully, guys. All right. What is or are the recent policy initiatives of Government of India to promote growth of manufacturing sector. Setting up of national investment manufacturing zones, that is correct. These are zones specifically set up to provide infrastructure to set up or to give all these manufacturing industries a boost. Providing benefit of single window clearance, again correct. That means the manufacturing capacities of the manufacturing companies, when they have to set up their base in the country, they have to expand. The permissions that they have to take from the government, that process will be made easier. Single window clearance, they would not have to go to different government departments to keep on asking for different permissions. Abolishing technology acquisition, establishing technology acquisition and development fund. Yes, that has also been done by the government in the past in order to make it easier for technology to be adopted within the country. All these three are correct initiatives the government has taken. D would be the correct answer. If you have not heard about these, don't worry. This is because it's an old question. So it's 13 years ago, 2012, this question was asked. The reason why you might not have heard about many of these is because these are not important or relevant now. When schemes become 15 years old, 20 years old, it may not be necessary that you would remember. Many of these have been overlapped by new government schemes coming in. So don't worry that this kind of question does not mean that now you'll have to go on revising these earlier schemes, because that is not relevant. It was asked much earlier. D would be the correct answer in this case. All of these here are correct. Moving on to the next topic. The next topic that we have, again, one of government's key initiatives in the past few years, that is our seafood industry. Now, if you look at the seafood industry, it is especially important because the government has been trying out various ways to improve the farmers' income somehow. Many years ago, when Prime Minister Modi first took up the office, when he first became the Prime Minister, one of the initial announcements that he made was that I want to double the farmers' income. Now, in order to double the farmers' income, the government has been trying to take a lot of initiatives. For example, one of the initiatives is to give a push to livestock sector, give a push to dairy farming. We discussed in one of the earlier classes, if you remember, about White Revolution 2.0. We also discussed about the livestock census that the government has been undertaking right now. All these have been initiatives where the government wants to have an alternate source of income for the farmers. Seafood is also a step in the same regard. The government understands the potential of seafood industry, especially in terms of export. India exports a humongous quantity of seafood around the entire world, especially countries in Europe, US. A lot of it is in demand, and this is where India sees a lot of potential. India thinks that not only is it a good way for us to improve the income of the farmers with the allied activities, it also gives us a chance to earn much more foreign exchange because it is mostly an export oriented industry. India is blessed to have such a long coastline. Not every nation can actually give or have such a big or flourishing seafood sector. It's only the countries that have this humongous coastline, the infrastructure, the technical know-how like India has, that we can take advantage of the seafood industry, which is what we have been trying to do. Now, why is it that it was in the news? Because recently Embassy of India in Brussels hosted a second edition of India's seafood and wine tasting event. Now, this is not a big news as such per se, but it becomes relevant because we anyways have been focusing a lot on the seafood industry. So here are some important statistics to help you understand where we stand in terms of seafood. India is the third largest fish and aquaculture producing country in the world. That is close to 8% of global fish production, which is again a big number. We have consumption in India as well, but as a country, we export much more seafood as compared to what we consume in India. Marine resources, because we have a lot of them, especially exclusive economic zone, EEZ, this is where India takes an advantage of a lot of these seafood activities or fishing activities. India's total exports reached 433 billion in 22-23. Agricultural commodities especially contributed a big part of it, of the entire export. Marine exports were about 7.36 billion, 22% of agriculture export, about more than one fifth of agriculture export was just the marine export. So we do have a lot of potential here, and the government wants to make sure that they act as a facilitator to improve this even further. Also, before going ahead, there's one very important sub part of this that I want you to revise. I hope all of you already know about this. You would have heard about things such as exclusive economic zone. I know all of you know about exclusive economic zone, EEZ. This remains in the news. It's also a matter of debate between multiple countries. Now, basically, how does it work? So, let's take a simple example. Let's say if this is India's southern coastline. This is where we have Bay of Bengal. This is where we have Arabian Sea. Let's say somewhere here, some mineral reserves are found. Now, the mineral reserve found here will belong to which country? Will it belong to India? Will it belong to Sri Lanka? Will it belong to, let's say, Bangladesh or Thailand? Which country would have the ownership over it? That is decided by something called exclusive economic zone. Now, what happens here? Understand this. Let's say this is the land. This is where the land actually of the country ends. This is where water starts. Now, if this is where, for example, let's assume this is shallow water and this is where the proper coastline of the country begins. First 12 nautical mile, again NM is nautical mile in water, you calculate distance in terms of nautical miles. So, first 12 nautical miles is a territorial sea. Territorial sea or territorial water is India's own national airspace, means any aircraft that is coming in or any aircraft that is flying here has to take India's permission. Without India's permission, the aircraft cannot fly. It is our own national airspace. After that, the next 12 nautical miles is called contiguous zone. Contiguous zone is international airspace. However, this is still India's area only. The airplanes can come. They would have to tell us. However, they would have to also explain, or they would also have to, let's say, in good faith inform India that we are coming here. Third, if you look at the most important part of it, this is called the exclusive economic zone. Exclusive economic zone is 200 nautical mile from the baseline itself. Means if a mineral reserve is found from here till 200 nautical mile, this is India's mineral reserve. We have the exclusive right over it. This is the idea of exclusive economic zone. Now, obviously, if there are two or more countries that are very close to each other, let's say this is India's coastline, this is Sri Lanka. So, obviously, the distance between us is not 400 nautical miles. So, in this case, it will have to be divided half and half between the two countries. Exclusive economic zones are extremely important from economic point of view because it is an area where the countries can undertake a lot of research, the countries can extract resources. Now, if you look at how the countries or how the global map looks like, because of the large oceans, there is also a big part of water that is not under any country's exclusive economic zone. Like the huge oceans that we have, the Pacific, the Indian Ocean, etc., Arctic, Atlantic. In these oceans, obviously, there will always be some part which is not under any country's exclusive economic zone. Then what happens there? If something is found out in the middle of nowhere, or as it is called international waters, then who does it belong to? This is where there is an agency that comes in the picture. There is something called UN clause, United Nations Convention on Law of Sea. The United Nations Convention Law of Sea, they have their office in Jamaica. They are the ones who decide about international waters. So, if a country has to ask for permission to extract resources or to find resources in international water that is beyond the exclusive economic zone, they have to go to UN clause and take their permission. India, because of a long coastline and because of the presence of Andaman Nicobar, Lakshadweep, these kind of islands, our exclusive economic zone is large. So, this is India's exclusive economic zone from here, and let's say this is Andaman Nicobar Islands here. So, from them also you have to draw an entire circle of 200 nautical mile. That will also be India's exclusive economic zone. So, exclusive economic zone allows a country to have a much bigger zone where they can try and search for resources. This is what helps the marine sector as it is helping the Indian seafood industry here. This is the logic here. The Indian seafood industry or the Indian marine industry, the export industry that we have, is helped drastically because of this large area that we have that we can exploit. And this is where the Indian government is trying to empower the fishing sector in India to be able to exploit as many of these resources as possible. If you look at some data in the past few years, our seafood production and export has gone up year after year. This entire thing is the export, is the production part, and this light blue part here is the export part. If you actually see, export also is increasing year after year. All these data is in lakh tons. So the export that we did in 2023-24 was about 18.19 lakh tons. Total production was about 182, so close to almost exactly 10% of our production was exported in terms of seafood in 2023-24. It is a good number, and again, these are some of the things that are in demand in richer countries because they are ready to pay a good price as long as the quality is good. This gives us an opportunity to give push to this sector specifically. This is the export trend in terms of numbers. In the past few years, we have steadily increased our in production and export, as we just saw in the graph, from 141.5 lakh crore production. We have been able to export more and more. Lump sum 10% of our production gets exported. As we just saw in 2023-24, lump sum 10% of our entire production is exported, which again is a very, very good foreign exchange earner for the country. Having enough foreign exchanges anyways helps us to get to steady our currency, to ensure that we don't have a balance of payment crisis. We are able to buy stuff that we require from other countries. In terms of country-wise data, which country is the one to which we export mostly, which are the states that produce most of these things. Our biggest export destination, as I've been telling, was US. Over 1/3 of Indian seafood export goes to the US. Then China, apart from Hong Kong, Taiwan, then Japan, then Thailand. These are the major destinations to which we export. So US, humongous market for us. Over 1/3 of our export goes specifically to the US. In terms of what do we export, mostly the export that we do is frozen shrimp. Then fish, cuttlefish, squids, all of these are exported. The states that produce a lot of fish in India, as expected, the coastal states obviously. So Andhra, Gujarat, Karnataka, Kerala, Maharashtra, Odisha, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, these are the major fish producing states that produce a lot of fish and is exported to other parts of the world. If you understood this, let's see if we can answer this question. Read it very, very carefully. It's a long question, and decide what your answer should be. Think about this. Done? Made up your mind? Okay, let's see. With reference to India's seafood industry, consider the following statements. Number one, India ranks third globally in fish and aquaculture production, contributing approximately 7.96% of the world's total fish production in 2022-23. That is absolutely correct. We are the third largest producer of fish in the world, close to 8% of the global production. The Marine Products Export Development Authority targets seafood exports to reach $14 billion by 2025, supported by Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. Now, it's slightly complicated. This is actually wrong. So, this target has been put by the government. That is correct. But it is not supported by this program, the scheme. This scheme that we are talking about, it's a separate scheme that has not been working for this target. So, the Marine Export Department Development Authority, they do have this target. That is not false. If the statement would have ended here, then it would have been correct. But when they say that this target is being supported by Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, no, that part is wrong. So, the entire statement here gets to be incorrect. Third, Andhra Pradesh accounted for 20% of India's marine fish production in 22-23, while Kerala dominates the export of frozen shrimp. Now, the interesting part is again here, till Andhra Pradesh it is fine. Andhra Pradesh accounts for most of India's marine fish production. However, for frozen shrimp, Kerala is not the dominating state. States such as Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, they are the ones who actually dominate the export of frozen shrimp. As we discussed, shrimps, mainly frozen shrimps, is a major exporter, or is a major export entity from India's marine sector, and a lot of it goes to the US. It is dominated by states such as Gujarat and Tamil Nadu. Fourth, Economic Survey 24-25 highlights that seafood export grew by 30.81% from 2019 to 2023, reaching a valuation or value of $7.37 billion. That is actually correct. The Economic Survey does talk about this significant jump that we have seen in the seafood sector, how it has expanded much more, the export specifically has expanded considerably. So the answer would be 1 and 4, that is B. B would be the correct answer. 1 and 4 here are correct. If you want, you can take a screenshot here. It will help you revise later on. Okay. Next, one more practice question. Again, read this carefully. See if you can answer this. Read this carefully. Think about what the answer should be. All right, let's see. Consider the following statements regarding India's seafood industry and its recent developments. Number 1. The Fisheries and Aquaculture Industrial Development Fund, launched in 2018-19, has disbursed 7,500 crores to enhance cold chain infrastructure by 2024. That is absolutely correct. 7,500 crore rupees have been spent specially to improve cold chain infrastructure. It is extremely important here. See, when you're exporting these kind of products that can go bad very quickly if kept at room temperature, and you're exporting it to far off areas, you have to store it in a cold storage. That is why it becomes extremely important. India's seafood export volume reached an all-time high of 18.19 lakh tons in 23-24, with frozen shrimp contributing over 60% of the export value. That is correct. Frozen shrimp is the major seafood export from India that contributed over 60% of India's total export. So that is also correct. Third, the MSME Green Investment for Financing for Transformation gift scheme, if you remember the one that we discussed in the first topic, RAMP, introduced in 2025, provides subsidies for sustainable seafood processing units. No, there is a scheme for helping or giving subsidies to seafood manufacturing units that is done separately by SIDBI, Small Industry Development Bank. That is a separate scheme that they run. The gift scheme of MSME under the RAMP initiative, no, that does not cover this part. That is wrong. Fourth, as per RBI's financial stability report, the seafood industry's growth has reduced post-harvest losses by 15% since 2020. That again is not something that has been declared, that has been mentioned in the RBI's financial stability report. They don't say that the growth of this industry has reduced or this losses have come down. No, that part has not been mentioned here. Thus, the answer would be 1 and 2 are correct, 3 and 4 are not correct. Since you had to choose which of these is wrong, I hope you read this word. Since you had to choose which of these is not correct, the answer here would be A. The answer here would be A, because this part is not correct. Other two here are correct. I hope you got this right. You can take a screenshot here if you wish to help you revise later on. Just take a screenshot here. Alright, then I'll move on to the next one. I have a related previous year question for you here. Slightly tricky, it was asked in 2019. UPSC does ask these kind of tricky twisting questions. See if you can answer this. Oops. Consider the following statements. Number 1, some species of turtles are herbivores. Second, some species of fish are herbivores. Third, some species of marine mammals are herbivores. And fourth, some species of snakes are viviparous. How many of these are correct, or which of these are correct? Slightly complicated, but if you look at them one by one, all of these are correct. There are always exceptions to the rules. So yes, there are some herbivore turtle species, there are some herbivore fish species as well. For example, let me give you these examples. So if you look at, for example, turtle, there is a green sea turtle which are herbivore, they only consume seagrass. Then we have, for example, fish such as parrotfish, they only consume coral, they only consume algae, so they are again herbivores. Then if you look at marine animals, there are dugongs that are again herbivore, that is again an example. Some snakes are viviparous, means they basically give birth to young rather than laying eggs. So those species that give birth to the young ones rather than laying their eggs, that are called viviparous. Some of the snakes indeed do that. The garter snake, vipers, etc. These are all examples of viviparous snakes. So all these lay their young ones. So interesting question. All of these here are absolutely correct. This was asked by UPSC a few years back. Got it? Alright then. The next topic that we have here, this is a sub part of infrastructure. If you look at economic syllabus, one of the important topics in economic syllabus is industry and infrastructure. In infrastructure part, we read about the power sector, highways, ports, etc. We also read about renewable energy and the status of renewable energy in India. Now, Government of India in the past few years has been giving a lot of push to renewable energy. Solar, wind, now green hydrogen, all of these have been the topmost priority for the government. And this is why it is important for us to also remember where are we and what exactly is our status. The reason why it is important, what happened this year was we achieved energy capacity or renewable energy capacity of 200 gigawatts, which is a big achievement for us. 200 gigawatts is what we have achieved. The target that we have is to reach 500 gigawatts by 2030. That's a long way away, but it's a good thing that we are trying to achieve that and we are on our path. 200 gigawatts rather is not a very short or not a very small achievement, especially for a country like India where infrastructure and all these panels etc. which cost a good amount of money, that will always be a stumbling block, but we have been able to take advantage of that. This is where we stand as of today. So this is the data up till October 2024. If you look at this entire renewable energy sector in the country, it is dominated mainly by solar power. So 45.1% of India's renewable energy is mainly just solar power. Then we have about 23.5% wind power, 23.3% is hydro. Then there is biopower, there is small hydropower. So depending upon where it is coming from, if you see here, we are not counting any green hydrogen because this is still at a very young stage. Green hydrogen, the production that we have, it is almost negligible as of now. So government is focusing on that. Maybe if we draw this kind of a map after 3, 4, 5 years, you might see a representation of green hydrogen as well. Right now it is solar that dominates it. There are two aspects of solar. One, India as one of the founders of international solar lines, we are taking the leap here. We are showing to the world how can we actually improve on solar energy infrastructure. The other problem with solar right now is that for most of the solar panels, and it is not just India, for most of the solar panels, almost the entire world is somehow dependent on China. China has gained a kind of a monopoly over solar panel manufacturing, solar panel export. So while our solar panels or while our solar sector is improving drastically, but we still have to focus a lot on manufacturing. One more very interesting aspect is, and which we overlook, most of the solar panels have a life of 10 to 12 years. So after 10 to 12 years, you will have to then replace them. Because most of the solar panels in India are not 12 to 12 years old, we have not reached a stage where they have ended their life, because when that happens, the problem of recycling will start. Because when that happens, then you will have to look into how to now make use of these solar panels, or how to recycle them, how to get rid of them. So it is estimated that once we complete a few more years, we will have a huge number of solar panels in India that need recycling. And we might not have the kind of infrastructure, the kind of capability that is required for recycling of these solar power panels. So we would have to be ready for that in the near future. This is also where we have to be ready with the challenges. Now, as of today, the government is doing a lot of things to give a push, to give a boost to renewable energy in India. They have launched a lot of initiatives, they have launched some subsidy schemes, etc. as well. It has become much easier for a private individuals to have solar panels on their rooftop to generate electricity. A lot of people do that. They have these small solar panels at the roof of their houses. And for example, if they own an electric car, they will charge their car through it. The electricity bill is reduced drastically. If you look at the government initiatives, for now, 100% FDI is allowed under automatic rule for renewable energy generation. So if a foreign company wants to come into India, bring all their money, bring all their expertise to set up a manufacturing plant in India to manufacture renewable energy, 100% automatic route of FDI is allowed, means they don't have to partner with any Indian company. They can come in, bring their capital, start the business on their own. PM Surya Ghar, that is Muft Bijli Yojana, you can install solar panel plants under which the government will be helping you to bring to generate electricity so that your electricity bill gets reduced. Green energy corridor projects, solar power schemes, solar parks, etc. There are so many of these initiatives. For example, if you go to Kerala, if you land at the Kochi airport is an airport that is entirely being run by solar energy. It's an entire airport being run by solar energy. If you go just near to the airport, they have a empty space where they set up a lot of these solar panels, and the electricity that is generated from these solar panels is enough to run the entire airport. So a lot of these initiatives from the side of the government and individually as well, they have been seen in the past few years. The green hydrogen mission I was talking about, the government is upbeat about green hydrogen. The problem is, see, whenever you start these kind of technologies new, even about 7-8 years earlier, about a decade earlier, when solar was still new, the problem is the cost of generating energy is very high. In the initial years, it will always be high. So when solar energy was starting to be produced, everyone thought it's so expensive, who will buy solar energy? No one will pay this much money. But as the time goes on, as the scale is achieved, as more and more panels are being made, the cost will automatically come down. Similar is the case with green hydrogen right now. As of today, green hydrogen is expensive. Making electricity from green hydrogen is not easy, it's not that cheap. So the question is, will it be affordable? Will people be ready to pay for it? The question is not about now. The question is, when the cost reduces after 5 years, 7 years, then at what level will it come? And then you will have to see if it is available or accepted to the people or not. This is where the government is focusing on. Let's see if we can answer a few questions about India's renewable energy landscape then. Read this very, very carefully. See if you know the answer to this. Read this carefully. Done? Okay. With reference to India's renewable energy landscape, consider the following statements. Number one, India's installed renewable energy capacity reached 200 gigawatts by March 2024, with solar power accounting for more than 50% of this capacity. That is absolutely correct, something that we did discuss. National Solar Mission, launched in 2010, aims to achieve 500 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity by 2030 under the updated Panchamrit commitments. Now, this is, see, look at how the statement is and understand the problem here. What they are saying is, under National Solar Mission, they want to achieve 500 gigawatts. Now, 500 gigawatts is the aim not for solar but for entire renewable energy. What the statement is trying to say is that it is specifically for solar. No, it is not just for solar. For the entire renewable energy capacity, we want to reach 500 gigawatts. So, second statement will be wrong. Because yes, this is the aim of the government under the Panchamrit commitment that we have made at the world stage, but it is not a part of the solar mission. Solar mission was specifically focusing on solar energy only. Third, the green hydrogen mission targets producing 5 million metric tons of green hydrogen annually by 2030 with incentives of up to 4.5 lakh per ton. That is also correct. That is the entire mission. This is where we want to go, where this is the level that we want to achieve. By annually, we want to achieve the target of 4.5 lakh per tons. Next, as per the Economic Survey 24-25, renewable energy contributed 22% of India's total electricity generation in FY 23-24. That again is correct. See, again, understand the renewable energy that is produced is used in various ways. If you look at the electricity part of it, we are still heavily dependent on coal. Don't make this wrong assumption that because we are doing well in solar or in renewable now, we are moving away from coal. Not so soon. We are still heavily dependent on coal. We still have a situation where if coal is not available, our economy would not be able to survive. So, this is correct, but again, we are still a majorly coal dependent country. That is why at the international stage, whenever there is any talk about phasing out of coal, you will see India is usually against that. We can't afford phasing out of coal as of now. So, the answer here will be 1, 3 and 4, D. D is the correct answer here. 1, 3 and 4 here are correct. Second one is wrong. If you want, you can take a screenshot here. Let's move on then. See if you can answer the second question. All right. Read this carefully again. Read this carefully. All right. Consider the following statements regarding India's renewable energy landscape and its policy framework. Number one, the renewable purchase obligation mandates distribution companies, DISCOMs that is, to source 40% of the energy from renewables by 2025 as revised in 2022. That is correct. So, electricity sector in India is very unique. There is a company that produces electricity. They are not the ones who supply at your house. They will then give the electricity to a DISCOM, the distribution company. They will be the one who are responsible for having connections from that power plant to your house, that is DISCOMs. So, as per the government rules by 2025, that is by this year, the DISCOMs, the power that they produce, 40% of that has to be power that has been made from renewable sources. Offshore wind energy policy notified in 2023 sets a target of 37 gigawatts by 2030, with Gujarat and Tamil Nadu identified as a key location. That is absolutely correct. Wind energy, the problem is it is only restricted to certain areas where the wind speed is adequate. States such as Gujarat and Tamil Nadu can take advantage of it, but not other states. PM Kusum, a scheme, aims to solarize 30% of India's agricultural pumps set by 2026. No. So they don't have a percentage target. They have a target of 2 million tons, 2 million solar pumps. So 2 million or 20 lakh, whatever you want to call it, that is the target. The target is not about 30%. So third is wrong. As per RBI's financial stability report, renewable energy investments have reduced India's energy import bill by $10 billion annually. No, no such RBI report quotes this number. RBI report doesn't say that our energy bill has reduced drastically because of this. There's a mention that it has been helping India save some money, but it has not been specifically pointing out towards a $10 billion number. So you have to choose which of these is not correct. 3 and 4 are not correct. So the answer here would be C. C would be the correct answer here. 3 and 4 here are incorrect. Others are true. If you want to take a screenshot to revise later on, you can do that. It will be helpful here. Okay. Related to this, in 2015, there was a previous year question asked. Let's see if we can answer this one. Pretty straightforward, only a two-statement question, 2015. With reference to India's Renewable Energy Development Agency Limited, IREDA, which of the following statements is or are correct? Number 1. It is a public limited government company. Yes, it is a public limited government company. Public limited, so it's open for people as well. It is a non-banking financial company. Yes, that is also absolutely correct. It's an NBFC, so it gives out loans to set up these kind of renewable energy infrastructure. That is the job of IREDA. Both of these are correct. Answer here will be C. Pretty simple, straightforward. C is the correct answer here. If you want, you can take a screenshot here. Moving on to the next one. The next topic that we have is critical minerals, a term over which the countries are ready to fight now. As the name suggests, critical minerals are a mineral that is extremely important for manufacturing a lot of important infrastructure, semiconductors, smart instruments, computers, smart cars, etc. A lot of that is required. A lot of critical materials are required specifically to build that infrastructure. Now, like many other things, China has a monopoly over critical minerals. And because the critical minerals are so important for the supply chain in so many different industries, that is why countries around the world, including India, are looking at alternatives of how we can have critical minerals in our own country rather than being dependent on China. So, why exactly is it in the news? Because the government has initiated auction of critical minerals for the first time. So, for the first time, we are now asking private companies to come in and try and mine these minerals, means try and see if they can find out, they can take out more minerals and which can be made a part of India's manufacturing industry. That is a government's initiative. Again, this is a way for the government to try and take out our dependence or reduce our dependence on China for supply of these critical minerals. If you look at their history, they are essential mineral resource required for extremely important manufacturing such as defense sectors, electronics, etc. Now, they include metal and non-metallic both elements. This is important. One wrong assumption that many students have, that this is specifically only for metal. This is for non-metallics as well. For example, antimony, beryllium, cobalt, indium, lithium, all these are included. Now, please understand, critical minerals and rare minerals are different. All rare earth minerals, that is 17 of them, are also called as critical minerals. But critical minerals are more than just the rare earth minerals. Okay? Rare earth minerals are separate. They are a sub part of critical minerals. On that note, let me also give you a quick homework. Your homework for today will be that you will have to tell me in the comment section, what do you mean by rare earth minerals? Are they called rare earth minerals because they are very, very rarely found? Or if not, then why are they called as rare earth minerals? Pretty simple, easy homework. Just tell me in the comment section, why are they called as rare earth minerals? Are they rarely found, or what exactly is the idea? Now, if you compare the two, as I told you, rare earth and critical minerals, rare earth are a part of the critical minerals, so it's a subset. There are about 17 elements which are called as rare earth elements. They have very unique properties, magnetic properties, they are luminescent, means they also glow. They are used in very high-tech devices, and again they are mainly found in China. Now, it's not about why is it that everything is found in China. It's a lot about China realizing these things much earlier and investing a lot of money in that sector. So while other parts of the world may realize about critical minerals now or rare earth minerals now, China realizes 20 years ago and then be investing a lot of money and technology into improving that. It's not that why is it everything is found in China. It's about how they have the foresight to know what will be required, what will be important in the next 20 years and focusing on that. On the other hand here, for critical minerals, again they're essential for manufacturing, they're essential for economy. You would have seen when Taliban, for example, came and took control of Afghanistan once again, most of the countries, including India, cut their connection from Afghanistan. They said we will not talk to Taliban. Very few countries said that no, we don't care, even if Taliban is in power, we'll continue our contact with them. That included China as well. China, in fact, was the first country to give economic aid to Taliban as well after they came to power. Why did they do so? Because China realizes that Afghanistan has a lot of mineral reserves, including lithium, for example. And lithium is an example of a critical earth mineral. Critical earth mineral, again, critical mineral rather, is extremely important for building of these batteries, the batteries that will store your solar power, the batteries that are important for your smart cars, electric cars, etc. So China knows the importance of countries such as Afghanistan. They realized that they were foresighted enough to declare that no, we will not cut our ties with them. We know their importance and they will be helping us. We will give them the money right now. It doesn't matter what the other countries think about us. So these are the kind of decisions that they have taken. So when you think about why is it that China has monopoly over this and monopoly over that, a lot of it has to do with the decisions that they had taken much earlier, realizing what the world will look like after 15 to 20 years. This is where critical minerals are important. Economic advancement of any country is dependent on how smartly they make these products, which are dependent on critical minerals. They are important renewable energy. For example, when you are building solar panels, as we just discussed in the last topic, building of these solar panels, etc., all of them require these critical minerals. When you're transitioning to AI, when you're building the supercomputers, etc., all of that in some way or the other require these minerals. In defense sector, when you're building super tech machines and these missiles, radar systems, etc., all that has application of these critical minerals. And this is why it is so important that countries must ensure an uninterrupted supply of these minerals. And that is why even if there are countries that may not have the best human rights record, even if there are countries which you would not like how they are working, but you would still have good relationship with them, try to have good relationship with them, because you know the importance of these countries and the minerals that they have. For example, and this is again your homework, search about where cobalt is found. The countries which are rich in cobalt, these are the countries which may not have a great human rights record, but the world over, countries are happy to share dice with them, they're happy to shake hands with their leaders, because they know the importance of these kind of materials in their own supply chain. US, when Barack Obama was the president, for example, he invited the leaders of African countries to White House. He earlier announced that I will not invite the Zimbabwe leaders, because Zimbabwe was going through a tough time. There were allegations that their government is killing their own people. The human rights record was very bad. And then there were discovery of minerals in Zimbabwe all of a sudden. And then Zimbabwe president was invited into the White House with all the special arrangements made for him. That again shows how the entire world, the diplomacy, the politics, ultimately depends a lot on these kind of minerals, because these are the minerals that actually hold the future. These are the list of critical minerals. If you look at the government of India, we have given a list of these minerals for us. So again, these can be different for different countries. We recognize 30 minerals as critical minerals, for example. China, for example, let's say, they can say that no, we recognize 50 minerals, that is up to them. America can say we recognize 25 minerals, up to them again. We recognize 30 of them. We also have Mines and Mineral Development and Regulation Amendment Bill. under which the government of India is trying to extract these critical minerals which are essential for us. We are trying to ensure that these critical minerals are first used for India's purposes rather than being exported as a part of this law. We also have something called MSP. So this is a group of 14 countries, Mineral Security Partnership, where 14 countries are working together to ensure that the supply of critical minerals is given to each other. If any country has it, they would be open to sharing it with the other, so that the supply chain is not compromised. It is not just dependent on countries such as China. The 14 countries here include Australia, Canada, Finland, France, so a lot of rich countries. India is also a member here. Republic of Korea means South Korea, Sweden, UK, all of these are members here. So most of these, as you can see, are European countries. Then there's Australia, Canada, US, and then there is India, of course. India also has a partnership with Australia. Australia in that sense is extremely important. Due to unique location of Australia, the unique topography that they have, a lot of extremely important minerals that you would not find in other parts of the world are in abundance in Australia. Like Australia has a significant amount of uranium reserves as well. Australia has a significant amount of gold reserves as well. And they have many critical minerals as well. It's good that India maintains a good relationship with Australia. So we have a partnership with Australia as well, specifically for these minerals. That is a critical mineral investment partnership, where we are investing in Australia, making sure that those areas that have a probability where these minerals can be found, India also takes part in that as well. These are some of the important critical minerals, and this is where we are importing them from. So if you can see, lithium, cobalt, nickel, vanadium, basically all these, most of these are 100% imported, means these are almost 100% imported. India does not produce any of these, the ones that are up till number 10. So tantalum, beryllium, rhenium, strontium, 100% of them are all imported. For example, lithium is mainly from Chile, Russia, China, Ireland. Then you can see cobalt from China, Belgium, Netherlands. This is not the entire list, but if you actually see, this is how we are importing most of these critical minerals, and we are not self-sufficient in most of them. On that note, let's see if we can answer a few questions from here. Read it very carefully. See if you can answer this question. All right. With reference to critical minerals in India, consider the following statements. Number one, the government of India identified 30 critical minerals in July 2023 under Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Amendment Act 2023 to address supply chain vulnerabilities. We discussed this. There are 30 critical minerals listed by the government of India. And again, this is different for different countries. Some countries can give a longer list or shorter list depending upon them. Second, the National Critical Minerals Mission, approved in January 2025, has an outlay of 34,300 crore over 7 years to enhance domestic exploration and overseas acquisition. That is correct. This mission is, the mandate given to this mission is to serve two purposes. One, look for these critical minerals within the country if they find them good. Otherwise, form partnerships with other countries as well where critical minerals are in abundance, and try and explore if we can play a part here in mining of these minerals and bring them home. Third, lithium and cobalt, identified as critical minerals, are primarily sourced domestically through Geological Survey of India and Khanij Videsh India Limited. I just showed you the entire list of most of the critical minerals that we have, and if you remember, minerals such as cobalt and lithium are 100% imported. 100% imported. So they are not domestically sourced. That part is wrong. Sourced domestically means that they are built or they are mined within India and then the government buys them. No. These are not domestically sourced. These are 100% coming in from outside. So that part is wrong. Now please remember, you might have seen, for example, some months ago there was a news that came out that lithium deposits are found in Jammu Kashmir. Yes, there was a news that came out like that, but understand, see, just because the minerals or a certain kind of a mineral is found somewhere doesn't mean that tomorrow you can go and just take it out. It's not like water, you just take a bucket and bring it out. No. Discovery of a mineral is the very first step. That is the easiest step, and then the real process starts. You then have to see whether is it feasible to undertake this activity to actually extract those minerals or not. Whether the minerals are available in such quantity that it would be worth it for you to make such investment, to build such infrastructure, to extract a lot out of that. So only after all of that is done, the feasibility study is conducted. After all of that is done, then you will finally take up the exploration or the mining of that mineral. So just because a news has come out that something has been found doesn't really mean that we have started to extract. It's a very, very, very long process. So yes, there was a news that lithium deposits are found in Jammu Kashmir, but that doesn't mean that they are now being extracted. Fourth, Economic Survey 24-25 notes that critical minerals contribute 2% to India's GDP through their use in renewable energy and defense sector. No, not really. We do not produce so many critical minerals anyways. This data has not been given by Economic Survey. They don't contribute 2% to our GDP. So which of these is correct? First and second are correct. The answer thus is A. The answer thus is A. Two of these is correct. The other two are wrong. If you wish, you can take a screenshot here as well to help you revise later on. Moving on, read this carefully again, see if you can answer the question correctly. Read all the four statements carefully. Done? If you want some more time, maybe you can pause on the screen and then when you decide, you can play again. Consider the following statements regarding critical minerals in India and their strategic importance. Number one, the Mineral Security Partnership launched in 2022 includes India amongst its 14 countries to ensure a resilient supply chain for critical minerals. We discussed this is true, led by the US, it has a lot of European countries, it has countries such as Canada as well, Australia as well, India is also part of it. The idea is to make sure that you are not dependent on any one single country, maybe China for example, for supply of critical minerals. They will help each other by exploration, by importing and exporting of these minerals. Second, the first auction of critical mineral blocks in November 2024 included lithium and rare earth elements, like with Tamil Nadu offering the highest number of blocks. That is actually correct. The government for the first time auctioned these critical mineral blocks to private companies. Basically, the government told them that as per our study, for example, critical minerals can be found here and here and here. Now you tell us, do you want to come in, bring your money, bring your machinery and extract these minerals? So there was auctioning process. Tamil Nadu was the one that offered the highest number of blocks or the largest area, basically in simple terms. Third, Critical Minerals Facilitation Office, established in 2023, coordinates the state governments to streamline mining approvals within 150 days. So what they mean to say is, when a company applies for a license or a permission that we'll undertake mining, the license would be given within 150 days. That is wrong. So there is no time limit set, unfortunately. There is an office like this, the Critical Mineral Facilitation Office. They try and make the process simpler, make the process streamlined. If a company wants to apply and they want to, let's say, stake their claim that we would extract minerals, in that case, this office facilitates and helps in the entire process, but there is no time limit set that within 150 days they would have to achieve that. Fourth, as per RBI's financial stability report, critical minerals shortages have reduced India's increased India's import dependency by 5% in FY 23-24. No such thing has been pointed out. India does have a shortage of critical minerals as like most countries, because the focus, see, it's not that these minerals may never be found. It's just that for such a long time, when the government's focus is on finding coal, because coal was a major source of our energy, you find coal, then your focus is, can we find crude oil somewhere or not? When this is the focus, most of your energy, most of your efforts are focused on that. Now as the world is changing, and as the world, the nations are realizing the importance of critical minerals or rare earth metals, now they will be focusing on those aspects as well. This is where countries such as China has taken a leap, where they realize things like this much sooner, and their investment journey into this kind of technology started much sooner. So it doesn't mean that India will never have critical minerals, or there is 100% probability that we will never have critical minerals. We might have a lot of deposits of it, but to look for them, there has to be a lot of investment put into technology. That is where, when the process has started now, it will take some decades to go ahead then. You had to choose which of these is not correct. So 3 and 4 are wrong. The answer thus becomes C. The answer thus is C. I hope you got this one right. Please make sure, and I've been telling this since the day one, whenever you read the question is not just in the 4 statements. The question starts from here and it ends here. So a lot of people, and we have seen in the past as well, ignore the word not, or if the UPSC will ask you which of these is incorrect, our assumption is that they will only ask the correct ones. So that is where a lot of you might commit this mistake. Even when you know what the answer would be, you might mark the answer incorrectly just because you did not read that word. So please make sure when you read the question, it starts from the very top, ends here. So you have to make sure each and every word is right. Don't ignore any of that. You can take a screenshot here if you wish to. You can revise this later on. Okay, let me ask now a previous year question which is related to the topic that we have discussed here. Read this carefully. It was asked in Prelims 2016. Read this and think about the answer. All right. What is or are the purpose or purposes of district mineral foundations in India? Now, what exactly are these district mineral foundations, or DMF? The simple idea is, let's say there is a district where some minerals are found. Now, when the government orders that these minerals have to be explored or they have to be mined, it disrupts the life of the common people. So, people living in the nearby area, many of them would have to vacate their house, many of them would have to shift forcefully. Their life will be disrupted. Kids going to school would have to be disrupted. You might lose your job as well. It also leads to a lot of pollution as well, because a lot of these activities will go on. So, while for the country, it may be a good news that, oh, mineral reserves are found here or here, but it's not such a great news for the people living in that area or in the vicinity. This is where an organization called DMF, District Mineral Foundation, will be formed in that district. The idea simply is that the money that is earned by the government by selling of these mineral reserves, a part of that will be given to this District Mineral Foundation. They will use that money for the betterment of the people living in that area. So, helping them to cope up with all these difficulties, investing in, let's say, sustainable living, to control pollution, to have better infrastructure set up. This is the job of the District Mineral Foundation. So, this is the background of it. Now, with that knowledge in mind, now let's try and answer this question. So what is their purpose? First, promoting mineral exploration activities in mineral districts. As I told you, they don't promote activities of mineral exploration. No, that is the government's job. Why would they say that yes, yes, come out, come and take more minerals from our district? No, that is not their job. They are not there for promoting activities. To protect the interests of persons affected by mineral mining operations, yes, that is what I just discussed. That is the primary responsibility of DMF. Authorizing the state governments to issue licenses for mineral exploration, no. They don't authorize the state government doesn't need any authority from them. Just imagine this. Why would a district organization have the power to authorize the state government? Just logically speaking, it is not right. That how is it that state government needs authority from a district organization? If the state government, for example, needs authority for something, needs authorization from something, authorization comes in from the top. It doesn't come in from a company or from an organization, it is below you. So third is obviously wrong. Answer here would be B. 2 only is correct. Only 2 is the objective or the purpose of district mineral foundations and not the other ones. If you want, you can take a screenshot here as well. With that, we come to the end of today's session and the end of economics classes for this ongoing prelims crash course. Over the past 14 classes, we have discussed a bunch of important topics from economics that have been in the news, that have a probability of being asked. We made sure that we also help you with the kind of question that can be expected from here to make sure that you are able to answer the question and understand the nitty-gritties of all of this. So please try and ensure that all of these classes, if you have skipped any of these, you watch all of them, try and be regular with them, try and answer all these questions as well. If you are new here, do hit the like and the subscribe button as well, so that any new initiative that comes here, you are informed about that. There are classes going on for other subjects as well on our YouTube channel. Please make sure you watch them as well, especially if you are appearing for this year's prelims examination. It was a pleasure covering this series. We'll be back with many more videos like this. My name is Harshmeet Singh. I am here live from Narayana IAS Academy. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Jai Hind.